Hello, I'm William Stewart. Welcome back to this verse by verse study on the First John. On First John, I'm glad you're here. Today we're doing verse 10 of chapter 1, and then we're going to review the first chapter, which is very important. And next time we'll start on chapter 2. Verse 10 says in the King James, "If we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us." This verse is a mirror verse to verse 8, where it says, if we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. And integrates verse 6 that those who walk in the darkness um, and have no fellowship with Christ, basically. So this verse wraps up a section where the apostle is creating a scenario of a believer and an unbeliever. Each of the last 5 verses start with the word if, not just the word if, but the word in Greek, which is really if, a lot of if. And then he uses a subjunctive tense, which is a would, could, should um, tense to further create the iffiness. So he's creating these scenarios of the believer in verses 7, who walks in the light, and then 8, or excuse me, 9, who then confesses their sin and to forgiveness from Jesus Christ, versus those who walk in the darkness, who say they have no sin in 10 and 9 and in 6. So what's he doing this? Why is he doing this? Again, as a way of review, John the apostle, who wrote the book in probably the 60s AD to a group of people, a church, or probably a church or a fellowship that we really don't know where or who they were. They probably were not very Jewish, though the Jewish diaspora was really everywhere in the Greek and Roman world. And he's establishing the theme of the book is to know that you have eternal life. And so he's establishing then a basis to make that assessment if you have the eternal life, and to assess other people, which is also quite important, that we understand the potential if somebody's really saved, either in the church, which is very important, or outside the church. In the church also can have many unbelievers who can act very similar to church members. Those are called tares. Christ talked about these in Matthew 13. So as a basis of making this judgment, he starts in the first 5 verses indicating that he received a word from Christ, who got it from God, and then he, John, has passed it down to the second generation Christians. So this gives them a basis of authority. It gives them a basis of truth to salvation primarily, but also the Christian life. But in chapter 1, it's focusing on salvation, because it's those people who believe by grace, by faith alone in the death and resurrection of Christ, that have this fellowship with each other and have the fellowship with God and Christ. So then, having said that, he makes us scenarios of the 2 types of people who either have that salvation and don't. So for those readers who are perhaps in the fellowship, who aren't really saved, I think he's trying to jostle them to help them begin to understand, well, gee, maybe I need to come to faith too and confess my sins and walk in the light. And for those who are in the light and have confessed their sins, it gives them confidence then to read the book that determines how to assess themselves and other people, so they know they have salvation as well as those other people. Okay, very interesting. Having said all that, then we can move ahead to chapter 2 and what these assessments are, mixed in with some good theology and some good love from God. Thanks so much. Glad you've joined me. I hope you'll come back next time. I'll look forward to seeing you then.